Coming to you live here from General Santos, officially known as the city of General Santos and abbreviated as Jansan. First class, highly urbanized city in the region of Soxcargen, Philippines. We are here today with day number 2 of the Oceania / Rest of Asia Open Qualifiers for DreamHack Valencia, the last of the regional qualifiers. After this, we have nothing but closed qualifiers and a week in between the actual main event itself. I am, of course, Yakuzaku of Zaku, and with me today is El de la Ducha que Posi Polvo de Crecimiento himself, Light_VIP. How are you doing, Light?
What's up, Yaku? Welcome back. I hope you're well rested again. Back to back, we've had days after days after days of nothing but StarCraft, and it isn't over yet, but we are nearing that halfway mark. This isn't just the second day of Oceania. This is the final day, the final open qualifier period out of every single one of our regionals. And mate, we have our first series.
We do have our first series. Really surprised that this is what we start off with, or I suppose I should say rather, I'm really surprised that this is a first round match. We have here on 2000 atmospheres LE in the bottom left hand corner of the map, starting all the way in the bottom left hand corner. We have a Purple Protoss player coming out from the land of around Sydney, if my memory serves me correctly. He, of course, is going to be representing himself, old mate Chappie here, and Clan Delix. He is the Purple Protoss player, Pezz.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of 2000 atmospheres LE, we have the Australian Zerg player himself coming out of retirement last night. Unfortunately, we missed him, but mate, he took down some big goddamn names, cause it is goddamn Ryan Jones, mate. It is currently residing in Singapore, NXZ.
COVID? Check. Now let's see if he can get a Pezz 2-1.
Oh my god.
As was its intention last night.
Exclamation mark be in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the bracket. I recommend checking Wikipedia. I recommend checking qualifier number 1 because this madman has been retired for like a year. I think actually over a year if I'm yeah, for a while now. But he came back last night and he took down some names, mate.
Peppy, 2-1. Azure, 2-1. He wanted to get that Pezz 2-1 as well, and then potentially a Piglet 3-2, but it was not meant to be last night, so we do have a little bit of a rematch here.
Yeah, it is a rematch. These two did face off each other last night, and again, NXZ has been doing surprisingly well. He was actually in a voice call last night as well with some of the other Australian players, and he's like, yeah, I did. I'm surprised too. He's like, oh my god, it's crazy. Oh god, he has been grinding a lot these past couple of weeks. But as you can tell with his previous score against Pezz, he is not too confident against Protoss right now.
Yeah, especially when he's up against straight up the single best PvZ player in the two regions, both Oceania and Rest of Asia, IMO.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree, mate. I would have to agree. Even before the qualifiers, Oreo was saying, "Hey, I'm fine with anyone, just don't give me Pezz." You know, even Oreo is
afraid of Pezz.
Yeah, even
Pezz.
Even Oreo is afraid of Pezz as well. Meanwhile, we do see NXZ going for a little bit of an Overlord scout. He confirms it is not a Stargate opener. Again, Pezz was never one to delve too far into Stargate. That was just never his style. And we see the classic Clavedet.
Yeah, this is something that, while it has kind of fallen off a little bit overall, Pezz never really gave up on it. I remember about a year ago when Stargate really took over the meta, Pezz said, nah, mate.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna do Glaive the Depths into Disruptors, and I'm still gonna beat just about every other Zerg player with it.
Yeah, I never asked him why. I don't know if it was just he didn't like the style of Double Stargate Void Ray, or he just didn't think it was that good. I'm not too certain, but he just never really adopted it. So we'll see how he does here as the Adepts already coming across the map. NXZ confirms the Adepts, by the way, as he is preparing at home. Roach Warren on the way. Unfortunately, his bases are spread out quite a bit. He doesn't have a lot of creep connecting them either, so he is looking a little bit vulnerable.
Especially as Pezz continues to warp in adept after adept after adept. He doesn't have that many gateways. He actually only has 3.
Oh,
which is even fewer than typical.
Yeah.
So this isn't too committed from him.
Exactly. Usually the standard gateway or glaive adepts is 4 gates, not 3. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to go. I mean, bearing in mind, due to the fact that he only had 3 gateways, he has been pumping out immortals already. Already has the first one, has the second on the way too.
Is he working on a soul train here, or I don't know, maybe he was just trying to bait out some roaches or something, as we do get that gateway explosion coming down now. Should be getting 8 in total, so it is possible that he is just thinking of going for a bit of a soul train instead of what, you know, he typically does and gets a robo after this.
Yeah, this is real interesting. Meanwhile, he forced a massive response. The NXZ was terrified, so he made a massive wave of Lings here to help defend. Unfortunately, the Lings aren't really useful for anything right now. But as you were saying, Pezz, he's coming in with a follow-up 2 base all in. 5 gates are on the way to add to the additional 3, so 8 gates in total. 2 immortals, nothing but adepts.
And when you get to a certain point, when you have enough adepts, they almost act like Marines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Roaches
exactly.
aren't too terrifying if you have enough adepts.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, Lings are going to be almost useless here, and the Immortals are just going to focus fire as many roaches as they can. He goes into the main!
Oh, and he does get surrounded by these Lings, but as you were saying, the adepts are just absolutely chewing through them, and Pezz can continue to warp in more and more. He has 8 gateways now, and he has a good enough economy to keep this going. Has lost a lot of adepts, but there were plenty more where that came from. The Immortals taking a little bit of a bruising, but still killing every roach on the map, or almost every roach.
This all-in is insane. There's only roaches remaining here, and both Immortals are still alive. They still have plenty of shields as well. NXZ, he's going to try and dive on top of them, but with the microphone, the swordsmith, he barely saves the Immortal.
Yeah, there aren't enough queens here to really threaten that warp prism. No Ravagers either, as, you know, NXZ can't afford to spend his money unnecessarily right now.
Yeah, exactly. He cannot. The Immortals doing as much as they can, but eventually, but with another warp in, can he keep this up?
We'll see. The Adepts are providing a good enough buffer for now, even with just a handful of them. And the Immortals, I mean, I don't even want to look at how many kills they've got. 15 on the weakened one, 18 on the healthy one.
Jesus. And that's all roaches, by the way. Oh my god, the first Immortal goes down to the drones.
And drones are continuing to surround, but NXZ is finally losing a ton of them. He can't afford to lose a couple of drones here. But he may have reached a bit of a tipping point. He just doesn't have any army supply on the ground, and there's still an Immortal here.
Exactly, the Immortal is still here. There's only one of them, so that's now half the firepower that he used to have, but he killed every single queen. Now the War Prism is fully safe. We do have a queen coming in from the 3rd base location, but again, there's still just not that much DPS. The War Prism is still, for the most part, unhindered. He's trying to focus down the War Prism.
But instead, he's going to get his queen focused down. GG is called. Pezz takes game number 1.
Oh, mate. GG, well played. I haven't seen an all-in quite like that, not gonna lie.
Yeah, very interesting choice here to go with mass adepts and only 2 immortals. It definitely felt like the bare minimum you need to go up against a roach Ling composition like that. A roach Ling composition, which, mind you, Pezz forced NXZ to get out. So he knew exactly what he was doing that entire time.
Yeah, and it, like, the beginning of the fight was also kind of like best case scenario for NXZ, because if you remember, he committed to the shade on top of the ramp, and he got fully surrounded by Lings. I'm pretty sure that wasn't intentional. Like, obviously, ideally, for Pezz, he blocks off the ramp, kind of like a force field, and he's on the other side, and he reduced the surface area, and he has that many more adepts afterwards. So, NXZ, he had a great surround to begin with, but alas, he didn't really, I don't think he brought over all his queens, or maybe he undermade queens to help deal with that War Prism. There was no Spore or anything like that to reposition either, like,
Well, Well, he wasn't expecting it. Well, he wasn't expecting the Warpers to come into his base. He was trying to work on the bare minimum of queens there, just for injects. And I mean, I think he didn't even have an extra queen to spread creep. He was for a while there. He was utilizing one of his queens that was injecting before he, actually made another one.
Yeah, and made. Good.
I was gonna say you touched on something that I didn't really notice as it was happening, but when I was looking at Pezz's composition, I thought something is off here. And now I'm realizing he did that without any sentries whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's the one unit you expect a Protoss player to bring with them when they're doing an all-in like this, but Pezz says no, you don't need it.
Yeah, he has his own kind of twist to things, and that was really well done. Kind of a brutal welcomer to NXZ back to the scene, like, yo, welcome back, bam, like, just doesn't hold back at all. I was like, oh my god. So yeah, very impressive showing by our Protoss player, and we'll see if we can keep it up, or we'll see if we may find ourselves in an ace match.
That's what we shall, as we load into Hotwire LE for our next map. We're in the top right hand corner of the map, of obviously over here in the top right hand corner we have a purple Protoss player coming down from the land of Sydney, around that area. He is of course going to be representing himself, Clan Blix, and old mate Chappie over here blazing it. He is the purple Protoss player, Prince Pezz.
And spawning in the bottom left hand corner of Hardwire LE, we have the Australian Zerg player himself, the returning pro. Now currently down 0-1. Can he bring it all back here in round one? It is NXZ.
Old mate Rowan.
Oh, we didn't even do it right. Oh my god. Hopefully we get an ace match, mate. Hopefully.
I'll bring it full force. I got my lozenges ready.
Oh god. It's gonna be a long broadcast today. You gotta be careful with that. Gotta
ration them out.
You do. Unironically. Oh god. But yeah, that was a rough game number one there for NXZ. Again, he wasn't too necessarily prepared. He was lacking creep spread. I think with his first queen he injected, he didn't spread a tumor, which is a little bit odd. Ideally you want to be prioritizing your tumors as soon as possible. Again, because he was forced to take the unnatural natural, it was also worst case scenario for him. And the initial scout, he didn't really take notice of the fact that there were only 3 gateways. So he overmade Lings early on, when that was, you could argue, wasted resources that could have been spent a little bit more efficiently. He was a little bit bamboozled, thinking it was a more standard Glaive Adept.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. How would you proceed from that scenario as NXZ? If obviously, if you knew that there were only 3 gateways there, because I feel like the standard response to a lot of early aggression as a Zerg player is making a ton of links.
And don't get me wrong, it is, but I do think he overmade them a little bit. I think that's where the criticism comes in. But at the same time, to give credit to NXZ, is the fact that like, I had never seen that before. And I don't think he's ever seen that before either. Yeah, that's the thing, right?
I don't think any of us have.
That sounds like, I don't know, maybe that's like a hero build. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what that was. But yeah, because of that, like, refining a response can be difficult if you're facing something for the first time.
Oh yeah. Especially when it is pretty different. Especially when even though it doesn't look that drastically different from the more standard thing, the response does have to be really dang different.
Yeah. Oh boy. So we'll see how this game goes, as it is a very different opener. NXZ does go for an Overlord Scout. He does confirm the Stargate opening as well as the Oracle that is coming across the map.
A little bit surprised that Pezz decided to stop at just one Oracle, but we see why now. He is throwing down a couple more gateways. He is throwing down Twilight Council.
Mhm.
Wouldn't be surprised if we see another glaive style as a follow-up.
Yeah, we could be seeing Glaives, we could be seeing transition into Blink Stalkers. If it was Blink Stalkers, we should see a Forge, though, that's typically tied together with that. Meanwhile, at the same time, NXZ does send his Zings across the map, and he will be able to delay that third Nexus by killing that probe.
Nicely done. And Glaives, of course, is coming on the way. So this is another one of little bit of a quirky style that Pezz has been doing pretty often whenever he competes, is not going straight into the glaive to depths, but rather opening up with a single Oracle to kind of soften up the defenses of his Zerg opponent, and then he warps into depths at home and tries to, continue to shade back and forth bases.
Yeah, and it's just a little bit of a shame that NXZ hasn't seen any of this, especially because there was no Void Ray. Typically, if you're going into a Twilight Council after a Stargate, you get a Void Ray first to clear out the Overlords. But Pezz did it with a Stalker, so NXZ is that much more in the dark. He has to try and figure out what is going on. He hasn't seen the massive amount of depths that are going to be coming soon.
Yeah, but thankfully for Ryan, he was getting a Roach run regardless, and he does have a couple of Lings here in position to intercept the Shades. Well, I say intercept. It's more of scouting the Shades. You can't exactly body block them.
Yeah, exactly. As the Shades are coming across the map. NXZ does have a fourth base on the way, and again, this isn't like a massive all-in. There's no way to really reinforce all these adepts. They're all alone across the map. There is no War Prism, and NXZ already has Roaches on the way, so right now it's all about his control and his response, and making sure he minimizes drone losses.
Yeah, he's going to need to be very careful when it comes to shading back and forth. Okay, able to intercept a couple of these adepts as they commit to the shade, and he is sending evacuating his drones pretty well.
Oh my god, no! But we do have a shade into the third base. The boys are pulled, and this is a lot of drone damage, Yaku.
Yeah, well, it's looking fine for NXZ for a while. Again, he could definitely afford to lose a couple of his drones, but not 19 of them. Pezz now up 12 workers, 14 workers even.
That's a lot of workers. That's a lot of drones. NXZ does go for a follow-up scout. He does confirm the Robotics Bay and Forge, so he's well aware that, soon we're going to be seeing some Blink Stalkers. Soon we're going to be seeing some Colossus or Disruptors as well. So he's well aware of the tech, and he feels now is the time to counterattack.
And a very good time that is. Gilawa Constitution just finished up for him. And as you said, he scouted that Pezz is in the middle of his transition, and this is exactly the most vulnerable position he should be at.
Yeah.
You have a force field here, but there are only 2 sentries. Oh, Pezz doing a really good job of sniping the Ravagers before they could actually get to the front line. So not too many vials are available for him. Yeah,
just like that, the Ravagers do get focused now. We only have Roaches and Lings remaining here. He's gonna get on top of the Immortal. Again, there is no War Prism to help keep them alive.
Doesn't feel like NXZ is being a little bit indecisive here. He's going between the third and the natural.
Well, I mean, he's all in right now. He did not re-drone. Like, he is losing workers across the map, and he doesn't care. He wants to end the game here and now. I do agree that maybe going to the natural will be a little bit better. He does snipe all of those sentries, and now, he's kind of posturing between the bases when he needs to be more decisive. Again, he has to just go for it.
Yeah, he's trying to draw the Protoss army to a more compromised position, I guess, which is, ideal, especially when you're up against Immortals, but I do agree with you there. He needs to go for the throat, or at least the arm. He needs to kill a base at the very least.
Yeah, but mate, killing a base is not going to be enough. He focused on the third base, which again, Pezz has such a massive worker lead right now. More Immortals are on the way. Zealots, slow lots at that. Sure, there are Queens, but mate, they can't transfuse, not anymore.
I know the battery overcharge being popped, and yeah, I definitely feel like NXZ had an opportunity earlier on, maybe 2 minutes ago, if he committed to one of these bases, or if he just went straight into the natural and continued the momentum from there.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, to be fair, it still would have been a difficult, kind of way to end the game here for NXZ. He was all in. He does take down the Immortals, but now there are Void Rays. And now he's re-droning.
Yeah, a little bit too late for that. maybe, because he does have 4 bases, so he does have a lot of production capability. So maybe if, Pezz doesn't go for a counterattack and, NXZ is able to buy himself some time, he can come back into this game. But that's, that's a pretty, what's the word I'm thinking of here? Like, that's a fantasy,
Oh god, yeah, I mean, there's a lot that NXZ has to do. One, he has to catch up in workers. Two, he has to survive the counterattack as well. Like, he can't really afford to do that, so he's just stuck droning for the time being and hoping that Pezz gives him a little bit more time. He did get a kill on that third base, and that will slow Pezz down a little bit, but now that the third is back up and running, like, Pezz, he is free to just focus on his army. And, yeah, that is going to be disruptors, and we can see the Warp Prism again. As soon as Pezz's Warp Prism is done, he is going across the map.
And he's gonna hit hard, mate. +1 is about halfway done. By the time Pezz gets to NXZ side, it should be finished up. This is a terrifying army when you're going Roach Ravager.
It really is. Blink Stalkers, Sentries, Disruptors as well. This is terrifying. Again, it's still going to be all about the engagement. Pezz, just because he has Disruptors doesn't mean that they are going to land their Purification Novas, so there is a chance that NXZ will be able to split, will be able to dodge all those Novas.
Yeah, he's got a very nice spread of creep here, so it's still going to be tough with all the force field potential here for Pezz, but it's possible, with good enough micro.
Yeah, that it is. Oh god, Pezz, he's pushing into creep. He's ready. He has his Novas ready, way to go. He does set up one. He does set up one. Ooh, 2.
And that was a very juicy Nova. Juicy enough, it seems, to keep this going. GG, Pezz takes that series 2-0. And it's a pretty good thing that he decided not to be Tez for this match. Well played.
Oh, GG. GG. Pezz takes the series 2-0, as you said, and again, that was a really dominant showing by Pezz, but that's also kind of what we expected because you mentioned it earlier, and I completely agree with you. Pezz does have some of, if not the best, PvZ in the region.
Yeah, we've been talking to him a little bit beforehand, and we were saying, yo, what are we going to see from you here? And he's like, mate, you're kidding me? I'm up against Ryan, who's playing Zerg. Of course I'm gonna play P.
Yeah. There was no question about it. Meanwhile, I want to give a shout out to NXZ as well, because, not gonna lie, when I messaged him at the start of the qualifier, and I was like, yo, can we cast? He's like, no! He's like, not against Pezz, not like this, puppy. I did so well yesterday, why didn't you cast me then? It's like, So it was kind of a rough start to things for NXZ. Just facing Pezz was really unlucky RNG-wise, especially because maybe almost anyone else on the bracket, he would actually have a real, maybe even favorite chance to beat them.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, you're probably thanking his lucky stars that he doesn't have to go up against Ryan. As he is our next opponent here for Pezz here. Azure has to get out Jadolf 2-0 about the expected result, but I'm just glad to see Jadolf back here again.
Yeah, it's great to see.
The Dolph.
The Dolph is back. The Dolph is out, but it is great. Yeah, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like you're saying right now, it is great to see him here. He did also qualify for ANZ champs, not the Code S, the Code A. And yeah, it's just pretty cool to see a lot of the other Aussie boys coming out for these, some of these more competitive events.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's great to see Jadolf participating and being an even greater part of the community, because Jadolf is a relatively newcomer to the scene. He started streaming like a year ago. He wasn't really too ingrained with the other players, so it's great to see him, again, being a part of all of this. And hopefully that will continue. Again, we do have to say goodbye to Jadolf, though, because this is the second qualifier. This is the last chance for everyone. When you're out, you're done, mate. You are done for this season of DreamHack.